Hello and welcome to a very special edition of All Elite Morro, where the best do wrestling awards. Welcome to the Morries, super special edition. You can get my screen right here. Everything is looking good. I look real good. Yeah, is everything working? I think so. I think everything's working. I'll just text Shane. Shane is super excited for the Morries, particularly the best young wrestler category. He's unaware that Frankie Vendetta is not actually eligible for best young wrestler in Ireland because Frankie Vendetta is old as shit. And he's a veteran of 17 or 18 years. So, you know, you're kind of... where were you last week, you bollocks? I said I had a work party last week. A Christmas work party last week. So, I suppose, like, maybe we'll just get into it, will we? Who watched World's End the other night? MJF, new world champion. What do people think of that? What do people think of Mox winning the Continental Classic? I, for one, loved it. Thought it was told a fantastic story throughout. But the wrestling year has come to an end. Hello, Mr. David Ayers. How are you, my friend? All good? How are things? Enjoying the Christmas, getting ready for the new year. I'm extremely busy at the moment, but it'll make me less busy in about 2 weeks' time. I'll have a lot more time in my day. World's End proves that 2025 belongs to John Moxley. He was unbelievable in that Kyle Fletcher match. I mean, unbelievable. Isn't it crazy? To me, like, that was like a top 2-3 babyface performance of the year. And also, he probably had the top heel performance of the year at All In as well. So, on different individual nights in the same year, he might have given the best babyface performance and the best heel performance. Absolutely insane stuff. Devier says, surprised by Mox winning, but liked it, and MJF is awesome. Would have preferred Swerve, but not mad about the result. Yeah, look, I think this is a huge title reign for MJF. His first one started it started great with the Danielson match. Then this did that 4 pillars shite that didn't really click. And then it fell off a cliff after with the Brochacho stuff. That we were all just begging for it to end by the time Samoa Joe choked him out at World's End. But MJF is awesome. He's been really good when he's been around this year, and he deserves a second title reign. Now, if it devolves into the sports entertainment shite of the first reign, I guess we know where his tendencies lie. Like, coming out of World's End and the Moxley stuff and the in-ring storytelling throughout the Continental Classic with Moxley, it kind of shows us a future as to what AEW can be, and that would be John Moxley's vision. So we'll see if MJF kind of starts to bring the world title back into that sports entertainment tendency of 2023, or if the company continues to kind of follow the John Moxley stuff of late 2025. But so Oshin says, I don't know what it is, but something just feels right with MJF as world champion. Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go, certainly. And I like the way MJF had 2 big matches this year with Hangman Page, lost both of them, and didn't beat Hangman for the title. So there's so much juice left in that. They had a great feud in 2025. And there's, like I said, loads of juice left in it. So I thought it's all began to make sense really about why they put the title back on Joe. It did 2 things for me. Number one, it allowed 2 years on MJF to beat Joe for the title at the same event that he lost to Joe for the title, and it also didn't have him beat Hangman Page, so you get juice out of both of those things. I like that. Jar B says, do I think he'll hold the title for long? It's hard to know, Jar. It's hard to know. Look at the latter half of, or the latter few months of 2025 with AEW. They've really made an attempt to be unpredictable with their results. So the predictable thing would be coming off a transitional reign, a champion like MJF. You would feel that he could potentially hold the title to All In and maybe lose to Ospreay or whatever in London. But I don't know. They're making a concerted effort, I think, to be unpredictable. Maybe he could lose it at Double or Nothing to somebody, you know. I don't know. They've really thrown me off with their unpredictability in the last few months. And, you know, that's a good thing. They're unpredictable, but not breaking logic. Their unpredictability has still been logical, which is a very hard thing to do. If they can continue to do that, I'll be super happy with the product, so long as it doesn't devolve back into more sports entertainment tendencies, such as Bro Chat Shows Summer 2023. But yeah, I think it sets up the company nicely moving into 2026. You've got a great heel champion. You've got ready-made matches now in Bandido after him winning the Diamond Ring thing. You've got he hasn't beaten Hangman, he hasn't beaten Swerve, so like straight away. See, this was the problem with the end of the Hangman reign. It was like there was nobody for him to face, so much so that they ended up doing Samoa Joe twice. Whereas straight away with this MJF reign now, you're excited about Bandido, you're excited about Hangman, you're excited about Swerve. You've got months of challengers ready built in. Then you've got Will Ospreay is going to come back at some stage. It looks like Mox is doing a face turn. So you've got this ready-made list of top-tier challengers for MJF. So I kind of love that. Jerby says, was just about to say, unpredictable isn't bad. WWE is too predictable. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Unpredictable isn't bad as long as it's not that kind of like, oh, we swerved you, you're an idiot. Like, yeah, unpredictable is good so long as it's not like cheap and swervy. Their unpredictability in terms of the booking of results has been like the Continental Classic, the two semi-finals. There were so many unpredictable, great results in the Continental Classic. Roderick Strong beating Claudio Castagnoli in 5 minutes, but that all stemmed from the previous match. Claudio had gone to a draw with Takeshita, and he tried to rush the start of the match with Roderick Strong, and it cost him. I was like, this is so unpredictable, yet really smart and actually makes perfect sense. And then the two semi-finals, I think we all would have predicted probably Takeshita beats Okada and Fletcher beats Moxley. We get the opposite way around. Both matches were great. Wasn't a fan of the finish. I liked the idea of the finish for the Takeshita Okada match, because we were kind of teased. We've been teased that match for a long time, and we all felt it was going to be the final of the Continental Classic. And then we were getting in the semi-final, and I felt like kind of that position is even too small for that match, given the excitement and build it had gotten. And then they booked a finish that very, very clearly is going to lead to a much bigger match in a much bigger position a little bit further down the line, when it doesn't have the political implications of Takeshita being the New Japan or the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So yeah, I think the unpredictability of both of those matches, the unpredictability of Mox. We all thought that Mox was going to lose a load of matches in this G1, and he was going to be murdered by the Debt Riders. But now we have a case where what I feel like is going to happen is Mox is going to be defending this Continental title, and that has this no interference thing. And the tension between Mox and the Debt Riders is going to come from Mox now realizing that he doesn't need the Debt Riders, and the Debt Riders kind of realizing that Mox doesn't need them either, and the tension will come from there. Still perfectly logical, but totally unpredictable from where we had been a month ago. Fucking brilliant storytelling. Considering how strong a character Mox is in terms of leadership, would you have the Debt Riders turn as well with him? Hard to know. I kind of prefer, I think, Marina Shafir, Pac, Claudio as heels. I would like to see a babyface tag run for Garcia and Wheeler Yuta. I think Yuta and Danny Garcia could be a cracker babyface tag team. So maybe they break away, like they all turn on Mox initially, and then Yuta and Garcia break away. Because they were essentially heavily recruited by Mox. So they could break away as a babyface tag team at some point in the future as well. Dictator Claudio is too good in my opinion. I agree with you, Brian. I agree with that. Dictator Claudio, I think Claudio would be a great leader. He's at the perfect point in his career. It really feels like he's at his most over at the moment. Or most over that he has been in a long time. So yeah, I'm all good for that. Will we get into the Morries? Look at this. This is fantastic. The Morries. Here are the categories we're going for. We're going to start with Best Overall Wrestler, then Best In-Ring Wrestler, Best Under 30, Best Tag Team, Best Irish Tag Team, Best Irish Young Wrestler, Best Irish Based Wrestler, so based in Ireland, Best TV Episode of Wrestling, not of other TV shows I watch, Best Pay-Per-View, Best Feud Story, and Best Match. Some of these categories I've picked like top 10s, some I've picked top 5s, some I've picked top 3s. So let's start with Best Overall Wrestler. So in at number 10, I went with Io Sky. I thought she was easily the most captivating wrestler in WWE this year. And she had probably the two of the three, certainly two of the best matches in the company this year, with the Triple Threat at WrestleMania, along with the main event of the WWE Evolution, a PLE, against Rhea Ripley. Until I didn't really like the Naomi cash-in, that kind of ruined the ending for me. But I thought up to that point it was probably even trending to be better than the Triple Threat match. At number 9, I had Zack Sabre Jr. Just tremendous throughout the year in New Japan. I thought he was the best in-ring performer, certainly in the G1. I thought his 2 matches with Goto were electric. His title loss to Takeshita was electric. And he was I thought even his Ricochet match at Wrestle Dynasty in January was really good. His Umno match on January 4th Tokyo Dome wasn't great, but this is a guy who this year was the go-to guy a lot throughout the year, at a time when New Japan needed somebody to step up the most. Shane says, no Cena, shambles. Correct, Shane. There is no John Cena. Number 8, MJF. Had a great year overall, maybe not the best year of his career, finished the year as champion. Had the absolutely terrific Hangman program throughout the year. The Mark Briscoe stuff was sensational. His work with, to be honest, his work with Mystico was just absolutely incredible. And this guy's been a consistent draw. This isn't just in-ring, this is everything. He's been fairly good on the mic. I don't think it's his best year on the mic. Bandido, then, another guy who drew great in Arena Mexico, was the backbone of Ring of Honor, and had an incredible tag run on the AEW main roster. Number 6, I went with Tony Storm. Again, someone who has proven to be a big draw on TV in terms of the quarter hours, and had the incredible conclusion to the program with Mariah May. Had great stuff with Mercedes, and I think her stuff with the conglomeration now is fantastic. Shane says, I know you're number 1 now, AEW Mark. You don't know my number 1. Get predictions in for who's my number 1. At 5, I went for Mercedes Moné. I think what she's done across the world this year in multiple indies is just so unique. It's been captivating. It's been pissing off all the right people. She's had some great matches, some okay matches. Then at number 4, and I had him higher, but I don't think the end of his year was super strong. Started really strong with the MJF stuff, the Own, and obviously the All In main event. His title run was so-so. There was some really good stuff in there, also some not so great stuff in there. He suffered from a lack of legitimate opponents. So number 4, I went with Hangman Adam Page. but he was involved in some of the best matches of the year. Number 3, I went with Saya Kamatani. She had 4 incredible matches this year. Shane is predicting Fletcher as number 1. I went with Saya Kamatani. She's had 4 of the best matches I've seen this year, particularly the 2 matches with Tam Nakano, but also her series of matches with Azumi has been exceptional as well. Then also, in terms of a draw, she has the best record in Carrican Hall this year in terms of being a draw, slightly ahead of Ozawa from Noah. What she's done getting mainstream attention in Japan for Stardom is unheard of. Also, she got the Tokyo Sports Wrestling MVP award. I believe the first woman to ever do so, and the first non-New Japan talent in about 15 years. That's just insane. Number 2, I went with John Moxley, and I actually reversed this in the last couple of days after the Continental Classic. I had Moxley at 3 and Kamatani at 2. If we go, John Moxley's year is bizarre and yet utterly incredible at the same time. Brian Dunn says, didn't notice Fletcher missing. Shane says, if you say he wasn't picked due to the under 30 award, that's cop-out. It's best overall wrestlers. And Shane has also guessed Mark Briscoe. So part of this award is drawing ability. And I think Briscoe and Fletcher don't quite crack the top 10 based on drawing ability. But on the other category, they certainly do. Ribshot says the Rizzler at number 1. No, the Rizzler is not number 1. So John Moxley, he was the back. He really led a total resurgence of this company. The company was in a dire place, kind of 2023, 2024. It was in a dire place in the early stages of John Moxley's title run. Once he got paired with the right people from Swerve until the end of the year, we saw probably the best run of John Moxley's career. Swerve through Hangman, through the post-Hangman stuff, into the Continental Classic, the Darby Allin stuff, the Kyle O'Reilly stuff, just consistently unbelievable. Yes, Zack Sabre Jr. is a draw. He sold 20-something thousand tickets as the headliner of the Tokyo Dome last January, Shane. And he also headlined the night 2 of that and sold another 15,000 tickets. As a headliner. So yes, Zack Sabre Jr. is a draw. Also, his nights of the G1 were the better drawing aspect of the G1 as well, even above Tanahashi at that stage of the year. So Zack Sabre Jr. is a draw. And remember, this isn't only best draw, it's the combination of everything. Yes, thank you, Brian. No Zack smearing in this chat. Number 1 wrestler of the year can only be Mystico. Brian Dunn predicted this one. It has to be Mystico. It has to be Mystico. Like, Mystico's year is utterly insane. This company sold over 1.1 million tickets in the same arena in 2025. 1.1 million tickets in the same arena weekly on Wednesday nights in Arena Mexico. Mystico has headlined something like 50 sellouts this year. And at the same time, look, his work isn't always unbelievable, but there's enough really great work there. His work with Sky Team, not to be confused with the Scorpio Sky version in AEW, that's crap. His work with Sky Team in CMLL is incredible. It's just, this is one of the greatest years a company like CMLL has ever had. If they had 10 sellouts in Arena Mexico this year, it would have been considered a historic success. But they had way more than that. They sold 1.1 million tickets over the course of a year in a venue that holds 16,000 people. And that is really driven by Mystico's star power there. This is a year of... They are legit, Ger. By all accounts, yeah, they are actually legit ticket sales. Look, ticket prices aren't huge. The most expensive show in Arena Mexico this year was the AEW, when AEW did Dynamite there. I keep saying Wednesday nights, it's Friday nights in Arena Mexico. I just got mixed up there with Dynamite. It's Friday nights, so Friday night Arena Mexico. They've sold over 1.1 million tickets just in that arena in Mexico City, and that is essentially off the back of Mystico. They had other sellouts where Mystico wasn't in the main event. Bandito did one, Mercedes Monet did one, but for the most part, the run of sellouts that they've had there have been based around Mystico as either the top draw or the main event. Now on to best in-ring wrestler. We've got Sari, who operates a lot in Stardom, but also does her own pop-up shows. A series of matches with Shiori this year have been utterly incredible. I watched 2 of them Christmas Day, and they blew my mind. She's had loads of other great matches as well. At number 9, I went for Konosuke Takeshita. He had some really great matches in the G1. His title win over Zack Sabre Jr. was excellent. His match with Bandito was excellent. Yeah, Jer, even if they're not that expensive, and they're probably expensive for Mexico, it's still incredibly impressive. Like, it used to be considered a success. If they had 5 Arena Mexico sellouts in a year, then that was a success. They've done like 30 in Arena Mexico and 20 in other arenas. It's insane. Takeshita at number 9. I probably could have gone a little bit higher with Takeshita, but this was a stacked field this year. At 8, I went with Tony Storm. Tony had 3 or 4 unbelievable matches. One in particular, which was just like an all-timer of a classic, in my opinion. 7, I went with Kyle Fletcher. Unbelievable consistency in ring for the year. Really kind of like he's, you could say the cage match with Will Ospreay at Revolution was a match of the year contender. I also think the Mox match at World's End this week was a match of the year contender. And really has found himself in ring and as a character. And what he's really nailed for me is that combination of meshing the character with the in-ring work. His heel work is just on another level. Mark Briscoe, number 6. Unbelievable year from Briscoe. Really becoming one of the most compelling baby faces in all of wrestling. He's a guy I think could really break out as a potential world champion in 2026. He could be a guy that could take it off MJF and cement himself in kind of the Mick Foley role. Chad Gable for Vikingo and Money in the Bank same night, Shane says. That's a great shout, Shane, and I did consider Chad Gable. He didn't make it for the same reason that Ospreay didn't make it, is that they spent just too much of the year injured. You know, both Gable's unbelievable in-ring wrestler anyway, and he was having one of the best years in-ring of his career, and he's had a few really good years. But yeah, I couldn't consider Gable or Ospreay for the reason of the amount of time they spent injured. Oshin Max says no Hechicero. Unfortunately, Oshin, no Hechicero. I couldn't fit him in. He was close. There was a few people there that I just missed out on the top 10 in this one. Hechicero was one of those. So Mark Briscoe, Ricochet was another guy who just missed out on this one, along with Hechicero. Like, Mark Briscoe had that Tums and Tax match with MJF, which I absolutely loved. He had the stretcher match with Ricochet, which I absolutely loved. His matches with Kyle Fletcher, excellent. Even the Mixed Nuts Madness match there the other night from World's End was excellent, and Briscoe is just so good in that. Zack Sabre Jr., when it comes to in-ring, there's very few better in the world than him on a consistent basis, in my opinion. He just constantly churns out fantastic matches. His 2 matches with Goto were excellent. His matches with Takeshita were excellent. He had several very strong matches in the G1, not like unbelievable matches, but just consistently strong matches in the G1. So I went with Zack Sabre Jr. at number 5. Io Sky I went with number 4. Every time Io Sky was in a wrestling ring this year, she just, in my opinion, completely outshone not just everyone else in the ring with her, but everyone else on the show she was on. She was just unbelievable. The only really match that I didn't like from her this year was the War Games match. But like I said, I think she was by far and away the best WWE in-ring performer this year, in a year which WWE in-ring wasn't particularly good. Dominic Mysterio was also good in-ring, I thought, like huge improvements, but you know, he's not near cracking this list of like superb in-ring performers. Colin Nelligan says all these Mexicans getting mentioned proves Trump is not doing a proper job. You can't keep talent down, Colin. Mark Dowd says Io Sky was robbed of a generational title run. Like, the killer, Io Sky could have topped this in-ring wrestler, and she could have been best overall wrestler had they booked her properly after she won the triple threat at WrestleMania. She basically did nothing for 2 months. It was insane. Brian Dunn says the stretcher match with Ricochet was as close to a perfect match to me. Yeah, I agree with that, Brian. I loved that match. It was like a total throwback to... they revived the stretcher match. I used to hate stretcher matches. But it was also like a throwback to an unbelievable territories match. So at number 3, I went with Jon Moxley. This guy wrestled 52 times on TV or pay-per-views for AEW this year. He put in a generational year of work. And yes, the start of the year was very, very crap. But my God, once he caught fire, he was... The Continental Classic from him this year is a generational run. Every match was excellent. The Hangman Page match was incredible. I kind of liked the Swerve match, despite the fact you had that crap interference from the Young Bucks. But... Jon Moxley, the Kyle O'Reilly stuff was excellent. The Darby Allin stuff, the second match in particular, was excellent. The Continental Classic was excellent. His weekly TV matches with guys down the card were excellent. Daniel Garcia stuff was amazing. Just an unbelievable year, really, in the end. Considering even the Copeland pay-per-view match at Revolution was dire, but the return match, the no DQ one 2 weeks later on TV, was excellent as well. And that's really where it started. Once he got that big board of nails stuck into his back, everything from there on out from Moxley was top tier. Jared B says Dom is entertaining but shouldn't be near a top 10 at all. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Super entertaining, but when we're talking about in-ring, he isn't near that. Colin Nelligan says, great to see Mox giving up the blade every week. Look, if he wants to go get the blade, get the juice a bit more, I'm all good for that too. But just seeing his philosophy of wrestling come to the fore, the use of submissions, and that moment in the Fletcher match when he finally refused to submit after quitting so much the last few months. He just told us this unbelievable story, all based around in-ring stuff. Brian Dunn says you should have put Mox as wrestler of the year. To be honest, he had a special year. I really did consider it. I bumped him up from 3 to 2. I just couldn't put him over in terms of wrestling of the year. Mystical, like Mystico's year this year was like 1 in 100. That it never happens. And I felt if I didn't go with Mystico on a year that kind of never happens, when would I ever pick something like that? I don't think there'll be another year for a long time like what Mystico did this year, and that's why I had to go with him over Mox. But I did bump Mox up from 3 to 2, and I bumped it over Asaya Kamatani year, which is essentially similar to the Mystico year in terms of like that's a year that never really happens. But yeah, like I do get the argument for Mox as wrestler of the year. Mark Dowd says I wrote off Mox at the start of the year, but since summer he's been on an all-timer run. This won't be fully appreciated till he's retired. I agree with that as well, and it feels like he's kind of placed to be the top babyface in this company next year. Does anyone feel hotter as a babyface than Moxley in this company right now? No. Coming out of that Fletcher match, I was like, he's your guy, he's your top babyface. Oshin Max says Moxley may not be the overall wrestler of the year, but he's certainly the comeback wrestler of the year. I think that's fair as well. And number 2, I had in-ring Hangman Adam Page. This guy had, like, at Revolution, he had a fantastic opener with MJF. And his run of matches, the stuff with Christopher Daniels at the start of the year was even great. Remember that street fight with Christopher Daniels? That was January. That was unbelievable. He retired Christopher Daniels. The MJF stuff was great. Then his run through the Own was fantastic. Then the main event of the Own against Will Ospreay is certainly one of the best matches of the year. Mystico is not in the top 10 of in-ring wrestler, Shane. Nope. And yeah, then Hangman, like, just consistent. Like the Moxley match at All In was unbelievable. The return match with MJF at Forbidden Door was great until the finish. Didn't love the finish. But yeah, Hangman, I could kind of reverse Hangman or Moxley here, either 3 and 2. I just thought Moxley probably had the better major main event type matches. And number 1 in-ring wrestler of the year, Bandito. He had amazing matches with Mystico in Arena Mexico. The Hechicero match at was it Death Before Dishonor, I think, was like blew my mind. The Takeshita match at Supercard of Honor again was totally mind blowing. His tag team work, he's involved in nearly all the best tag team matches of the year in AEW with Brody King. He was just, I think, kind of almost easily actually the best in-ring wrestler of the year this year. The Ricochet stuff, unbelievable, fantastic as well. Like, this guy, honestly, his year this year, and like the thing about it is, I don't even like his finishing move. It annoys me. But his match, the Hechicero match, was just incredible. And they just put it up for free on YouTube along with the Takeshita match. Shane and Jaida's Jericho match, yeah, that was actually the mask one was really good as well. Brian Dunn says Bandito AEW Championship run potentially in 2026. I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. And it feels like he's going to be Max's first opponent, which probably means he isn't winning it. But then again, who knows? He's certainly earned, I think, off the back of his work this year in Ring of Honor and the tag division, he's certainly earned the opportunity to be booked at the top of the card and to be given the opportunity to have a major pay-per-view main event this year in a title match. Yeah, for me, he was kind of an easy pick as best in-ring wrestler. The best under 30 at number 3, I went to Dom Mysterio in terms of potential for the future. Number 2, I went with Saya Kamatani. Oh shit, yeah, I forgot he's going to be the first challenger for Max, so he's probably not going to win it, Brian, but I do think he certainly deserves to be in that picture and maybe win it at some stage during the year. Yeah, so then the best under 30, like I said, 3, Dominic Mysterio. To be honest, some of my favourite stuff, I didn't love the Cena stuff with Dom, but I did really like his Vikingo stuff. I thought he had some great matches in AAA. I thought he did some really decent stuff on the main roster. This was certainly the year where I found his work and character to be the most compelling to me. I don't really like the idea of him being back in the Liv Morgan stuff. It feels to me like he's kind of progressed beyond that. It feels now that he doesn't need having those crutches around the ring that he did kind of 18 months ago. I think he's good enough now that he doesn't need all the smoke and mirrors and crutches. Saya Kamatani, number 2. I just can't wait to see what she does over the next few years. Her year this year has been insane. I don't know if she'll have the dance partners like Tam Nakano that she had, but she's getting a big match at the Tokyo Dome on Wrestle Kingdom. What a great way to start off 2026 for her. But I went the number 1 wrestler in the world under 30 this year. There's no way I was hiding this one, or there's no way you didn't know who this was going to be. Kyle Fletcher. Just, again, I've spoke a bit about him already when it came to best in-ring, but the way he's mixed, I just think he's, of any young wrestler in the world today, he is the most surefire, guaranteed hit out of all of them. When you look at him and you compare him to other wrestlers of a similar age, he is so far ahead of everyone in terms of his comfortability in ring, with character, with audience interactions. He just feels like this super complete wrestler at 25 or 26 years of age. I think he's better than MJF was when MJF was his age. I think he's actually probably better than MJF even is now. I think this guy could be the top heel or top face in all of wrestling for years to come. I don't think there's been a potential talent like him in a long time. I think he's the most exciting mid-20s wrestler to emerge since maybe I actually think he's more he has better instincts now than Ospreay did at his age. It's just crazy. Maybe Bryan Danielson, the early 2000s. But Bryan Danielson in the early 2000s, I suppose he did have his character down. It was just in a different setting. I find it hard to come up with the hyperbole or the superlatives that are, in fact, fitting for a guy at this level, at this age. Jerbanahan says, do I think he'll stay with AEW in the long run? I believe he recently signed a new 5-year deal. So that would take him up to 2030. And he'll only be 30 years of age, like, you know. Imagine the bidding war for him in 5 years' time if he keeps on developing the way he is. Oshin Max says he undoubtedly has one of the most tremendous upsides in wrestling at the moment. Yeah, I think he's the guy to emerge with the most upside for me in years and years and years and years and years. I think at several times this year, he's been on the verge of being the best wrestler in the world. Brian Dunn says, wow, high praise to compare him to BD. Yeah, like I'm talking Ring of Honor 2002, 2003, 2004, Bryan Danielson. That's kind of, I don't know if a wrestler has emerged. If you push him right, he could be your 2013, 2014 Okada. He's just, I think, ready for, he could be the top guy in the industry by the end of this year. And he's a guy who you could main event 4 all-ins with in a stadium. I think he has that level of potential. You look at his crowd interactions are unbelievable. I could not speak highly enough of this guy. Do you think his style will allow him to work at such a level in the next 5 years? He'll get injuries. I don't think he'll stay totally healthy for all of those 5 years. He will miss time. But yeah, I think he can work his current style for about 10 years. Kind of like Ospreay did. Now Ospreay's getting neck surgery. But Ospreay worked a mad style for 10 years before he needed the neck surgery. I would advise against the fucking head bump that he took against Moxley at World's End. Like, that was such a fucking Kobashi, Misawa, Kawada head bump that was unnecessary. I don't think if that head bump didn't take place, the match would have been any worse. If he just flipped over fully and landed on his face, the match would have been like a 5-star match. So yeah, I don't think he needs to. Could probably just get rid of those neck bumps because everything else he does is so good. The first 5 minutes, look at the way he generated heat in the first 5 to 10 minutes of that match. And that's what got Moxley over as a mega babyface later in the match, is that Kyle took the time early to antagonize the audience, slow things down, get in and out of the ring. And then when Mox cut him off, the fans went bonkers for Mox. To the point that 10 minutes in, the crowd were chanting Moxley, Moxley, Moxley. Because Kyle Fletcher took the time to piss the audience off and establish that he is the heel here. And it was his work that, along with Moxley's fighting spirit, but it was Kyle Fletcher's antagonism of the audience. And he does this all the time. He did it with Briscoe, and the crowd went bonkers for Briscoe. He does this in every match. He gets the crowd on the side of the person that's going against him. And I think when he eventually does flip the switch, if he has the same instinct for being a babyface, this guy could be absolutely like, the sky's the limit for how big he could be. Because if he can get the crowd on side with him with the same kind of ferociousness that he can get the crowd to turn on him and get on side with the baby faces that he's facing, he'll be like a megastar. He's the person who's impressed me more than anybody in all of wrestling this year. Best tag team, I'm not doing a countdown on this one. I just went with FTR. I thought there's stuff with Adam Priest, and Tommy Billington was fantastic. The Outrunner stuff during the summer was amazing, and I liked a lot of their other stuff. I didn't think it was the best year for tag team wrestling in any company, really. I wasn't super impressed at any stage, but I thought FTR really did a lot of work with the mid card of that division, and they've really helped the Bang 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 Gang They've helped Priest and Billington. They've helped the Outrunners. They helped Brodito. They helped a lot of the mid card of this division established, or like move up the card and get a better spotlight on them. I don't think any other tag team did that this year. And they've had some really great matches while doing that. But I just think in general, this year wasn't the best year for tag team wrestling. I thought the Bucks had a decent year. I did love the Bucks versus Ospreay and Swerve at All In. But there's times where, particularly recently, the Bucks kind of feel like a nostalgia act while they still should be in their prime. Oshin Max says top guys ain't just their gimmick. Yeah, like I just think the most impressive thing for me this year is how they have helped flesh out this tag team division. They've given credibility to so many different mid-card tag team acts that if another tag team comes along and beats Priest and Billington and beats the Outrunners and beats the Bang Bang Gang, that it actually means something because FDR took time during the year and during other feuds. They were feuding, the Cope and Christian feud was going on while they were doing that 2-match program with Priest and Billington. They were doing a Hurt Syndicate and Brodito feud while they did those couple of matches with Outrunners in the summer. These guys worked so well with the Outrunners that people were calling for the Outrunners to get a run as the tag team titles or as the tag team champions in AEW. Unfortunately, the WWE tag team division has been a bit of a dumpster fire all year. I do like what AJ and Dragon Lee are doing at the moment. That feels kind of fresh. It just comes very late in the year for kind of considering it as something like this, and they don't get the pay-per-view time as such or TV time that the likes of FTR get in order to kind of establish themselves and their opponents. But I thought FTR did such a great job this year of fleshing out the whole tag team division in AEW. Best Irish tag team, I went with BDE. If you're ever at a show, BDE are consistently the most entertaining thing on any wrestling show in Ireland. Big Bad Dirty Nicky and Bittersweet Josh, I just thought in terms of being entertaining, every time I saw these guys this year, I was entertained no end. Their characters, their shtick, and their wrestling is top class. Big Bad Dirty Nicky is unbelievable. Bittersweet Josh is developing very, very, very well. And they've got great chemistry with each other, and they're really funny, but their matches are also really good. So yeah, best Irish tag team for me was BDE. And I considered like non-Irish tag teams who do a lot of work in Ireland, like Hype Dogs and stuff, are unbelievable this year in Ireland. But yeah, I just think BDE, in terms of consistently entertaining a variety of match types, they were the top ones for me. Best young Irish wrestler, I went tied third, Luke Frettel and John McCann. Luke, in fairness, has been like traveling everywhere recently, getting loads of experience. John McCann has been working up north and all around Ireland as well. These guys are just working so consistently. I found it hard to pick one over the other. When John put a load of his matches on his personal YouTube page, I was like captivated for about 3 days straight. So shout out to the two of them. They're both absolutely awesome. They're very young and they're going to have huge futures. Number 2, and I really deliberated over this one because this guy nearly stole number 1 in the last few days with his Trent 7 match last week. Keane Noonan, unbelievable year. And here's another guy who is going to France the whole time. I think he's been in like Belgium, UK and Ireland. It seems to be he's doing multiple matches every weekend. Just getting really, really, really good. Even at the start of this year, at the local Rumble, he was in the 5-man match to open the show. He was excellent in that. He's just been excellent from start to finish this year, and his Trent 7 match to finish the year very nearly stole the number 1 spot. But yeah, again, shout out to him because he's another guy that is working everywhere he can at the minute. And when you see young indie wrestlers doing that, you know that they're going to just consistently improve. And like I said, his Trent 7 match to finish out the year was absolutely awesome. So shout out to Keane Noonan. Number 1 went with Matthew Bullet Smith. I think he had the most captivating story this year. And you know, he had that long run with Sean Max Guinness, the Social Elite, as the OTT Tag Team Champions. Again, they were going to Spain. I think they were going to Italy. They were going all over the place defending the OTT Tag Team titles. They popped up in Barcelona. And that was really brilliant for Bullet Smith's development. He just seems like so complete at the moment, so kind of assured, really ready to break out as kind of a top independent wrestler in Europe. And I don't just mean in Ireland, I mean all over Europe as a singles guy. I think he's just at that stage now where he's ready for that. If you look at the year he's had, this, like, Maxer gets injured, it probably puts him in a position of like, well, he's been tagging with Maxer for so long. What do you do now? And he just seamlessly kind of, moved on to other stuff and has been brilliant in that. The Renzo Rose tag team, seen them wrestle 3 times over the summer. They were so good together. And then they went into the single stuff. Tagged with Corbin recently in a great match as well against Renzo. And who was he with? Not Bonesaw. Shit, it'll come back to me. Brian Dunn says, was at a show in November and Smith stood out like a sore thumb. Guy's a natural, great character work. Totally agree, Brian. Total natural, great character work. Super smooth in the ring and very, very exciting. So yeah, he kind of pipped Keane Noonan for me. Mainly because Keane's just telling a great story with Luke Frettel there as well. But the Matthew Bullet Smith and Renzo story for me was the most captivating thing in Irish wrestling this year. So shout out to the Bullet, Matthew Bullet Smith, Young Irish Wrestler of the Year. Best Irish Wrestler, this is based in Ireland. Number 3, I went with Bullet teamed with Corvin. Who did Renzo team with, Shane? Wasn't Bonesaw, it was Duncan Disorderly? No. Who was Renzo's partner? The chat is 30 seconds behind, so I'm saying this now. Then Shane's going to hear it in 30 seconds. And then he's going to take 10 or 12 seconds to type it. Keane had a great story with LJ also earlier in the year. That's true. The mentor story. That was so good. That was so good. And that was really a kind of a key... Bonesaw, yeah, right. Perfect. Thank you, Bonesaw. The Keane and LJ story was a real key part of the local Rumble earlier in the year. That feels like more than a year ago. Wow. So then, best Irish wrestler, number 3, I went with Renzo. I know he's Italian, but he's heavily based in Ireland. Again, when I first started seeing Renzo a couple of years ago, he was playing like a cocky foreign heel. And I was like, yeah, this guy's really good, but I just find his character a bit boring or whatever. And seeing him develop into a fiery babyface this year has unlocked another dimension in how exciting his work is. And he just seems so much comfortable and so much more at home in that role that he's just been like excellent this year. Love watching him. Really one of the people I love watching. Tate, Edward Stewart Tate, number 1. No. And number 1 also isn't a member of the Tate estate. So went with Renzo at number 3. Just absolutely loved his work as the fiery babyface this year. Like I said, his stuff with Bullet Smith, I love it. Super exciting. I'm going to take a trip to Limerick for that singles match. I think the 10th of January. Is that right, Shane? Are they doing the singles match on the 10th of January in Limerick? Renzo versus Bullet. I'm not going to miss that one. So all going well. I'll be there in Limerick at that one. Number 2, I went to Callum Black. Callum, again, has been kind of the glue, really, for the Killer Cartel storyline. He's been like the first guy in on that, winning the NLW title. That match with Kingslayer J up in Drogheda was, I think, maybe the top 2 best live matches I've seen this year. But his whole story this year, like how getting back into wrestling, getting himself in unbelievable shape, being a part of the top storyline, kind of being Joe's right-hand man, winning a singles title, consistently putting on great matches. The match in Drogheda, like I said, was one of the top 2 live matches I've seen this year. Unbelievable year from Callum Black. So I had Callum at number 2, nearly at number 1. But number 1, I went with Raven Creed. Raven Creed was in, again, one of the best live matches I saw this year with Myla Grace at the anniversary show in that stipulation where Myla couldn't be disqualified, but Raven could. I thought, and like that sounds like such a terrible stipulation, but the match was just laid out so well that it ended up being one of the best live matches I've seen this year. And then she was also in one of the best on-demand matches I've seen this year at the CCW show in the summer, Cool Championship Wrestling, the Triple Threat Tag Ladder match with Jay. Hype Dogs. Unbelievable tag ladder match that was. And then also I think what tipped it over the edge on Raven Creed over Callum Black for me, and Callum number 2, very close number 2, and even Renzo at 3. You know, I had other guys on this list. Big Demos had a great year. Kingslayer Jay keep calling him Kingslayer Jay. Jay has had a great year. I said Big Demo, Big Bad Dirty Nicky was in the conversation for me. That was having with myself because I like talking to myself. You know, so many. Golden by Santos had a great year. Hype Dogs were great. So just so much great stuff happened really in Irish wrestling this year. The fact that there's so many companies running consistently. CBL is, I haven't got to see a lot of the Rebel County Championship shows, but from what I'm hearing from people that are going, the CBL is doing unbelievable stuff down there. I hope to get some, because I love the PAV where they run most of their shows, so I really want to get to a Rebel County Wrestling show in the coming months. But Raven Creed, what tipped it over the edge for me on this one is that a few weeks ago she worked a match in the Rebel County Wrestling show in the PAV in Cork, got straight into her car, drove for like an hour and a half to Killarney, and then worked a 6-man tag in OTT show in Killarney straight out of the car. Like, that's the kind of shit I love from my professional wrestlers. So shout out to Raven Creed there, in my opinion, the best wrestler in Ireland in 2025. The best TV episode this year I thought was Blood and Guts. AW's Blood and Guts. Unbelievable episode of television. 3 great matches. A lot of unique presentation. I had it slightly ahead of the AEW Dynamite from Arena Mexico. Again, a show that felt super unique, and opening with that Hangman Page speaking Spanish promo was just excellent, that show as well. But yeah, I went with Blood and Guts on this one in the end. The Christmas Collision show was fantastic for anyone who hasn't seen it as well. Yeah, and it certainly wasn't the January 6th Netflix debut of WWE Raw. Best pay-per-view, in the end I went for Double or Nothing. I was close with Revolution, but the Cope Mox main event in Revolution was awful. I just went for Double or Nothing in the end. Brian Dunn says the main thing I remember from that show was Hobbs' fucked up tailbone bump. That was insane. Off the oh god, that looks so sore. Off the announce table right onto his arse. He seemed to be fine after it. I don't know how. Yeah, but I went to Double or Nothing. Just did that main event, the end of that show, everything. There was loads of good matches on the show. Let's read out the whole card, I suppose, just as for posterity, as they say. Cause yeah, I really had to decide between. It's just a feel-good ending of it as well. But the show then itself, scroll down. So it had a really good Mercedes Moné and Jamie Hayter match. FTR versus Garcia and Nigel McGuinness was fun. It had the stretcher match between Ricochet and Mark Briscoe. The Hurt Syndicate versus the Sons of Texas wasn't great. It had a really fun Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey match. That was one of Okada's best performances of the year. It had the Timeless Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa match, which was good. And then it had the Anarchy in the Arena match, which was, I think, was probably the best version of the Anarchy in the Arena. Unbelievable match. You know, let the bodies hit the floor, like so good. Omega, Swerve, Willow, and you had the Willow and Hobbs moment of the big black and Jack t-shirts. Like there was so much cool stuff in that match. Then it had this really weird 6-man that wasn't very good, but it was Takeshi the Fletcher and Josh Alexander versus Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong. And then you had the Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay main event. So for me, like, the Mercedes Moné and Jimmy Hart match was great. The Ricochet Mark Briscoe stretcher match was incredible. The Okada versus Mike Bailey match was really good. The Anarchy in the Arena match was really good. And the Hangman versus Will Ospreay match was a potential match of the year. Brian Dunn says Mercedes versus Jamie match was awesome. The spiked roll-up finish was super memorable for me. That looked insane as well. So yeah, I went with Double or Nothing in the end because I could have gone with Revolution, because Revolution had the Hollywood ending. It had was it the Kenny Omega, Mike Bailey, Ricochet triple threat? It had the Kyle Fletcher and Ospreay cage match, and it had some other bonkers match in there as well on a 4-match stretch. Can't remember what it was, but it was insane as well. So look, All In Texas had some great stuff. You know, it had the Bucks versus Swerve and Ospreay. It had the Omega Okada match. It had that fantastic Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné was really good, and then the main event with Moxley and Hangman Adam Page. But the early section of All In Texas, looking back, was a little bit of a slog. It was 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours long, or whatever it was. Shane was sat beside me just in agony trying to get through it. So yeah, I went with Double or Nothing over Revolution. And then Ocean McCarthy says, not to mention that Anarchy in the Arena match, Double or Nothing, was one of the most fun matches you'll ever watch. Yeah, it was. It was unbelievably fun. That big black and Jack t-shirts was unbelievable. The let the bodies hit the floor stuff was unbelievable. The Young Bucks just eating absolute shit from Kenny and Swerve was unbelievable. There was just so many great moments in that match. And Mox was so good in that match as well. Hangman Ospreay was my match of the year, followed closely by Bucks versus Swerve Ospreay. You went Bucks versus Swerve Ospreay really high, yeah. That was David Ayers. Bucks versus Swerve Ospreay was such a great match. I didn't include it in my top 10 matches, actually. I couldn't fit it in. I had no tag match this year in my top 10 matches for probably the first time ever. Oh my God, Willow's ear getting padlocked, says Brian Dunn. That was nuts as well. We're into the last category. Oh no, second last category. Best feud / story. So at number 5, I went with MJF Mystico. MJF just getting to play the absolute foreign heel prick in Arena Mexico was great. At number 4, I went with the Renzo Rose Bullet Smith stuff. I loved that. I loved the promos they cut online, or the video packages, not video packages, like the videos that they made for the story online. The interference of Joe, the moment, the fact they won the match and then Bullet Smith turned, all of that was just so good. Number 3, I went to Moxley's story throughout the Continental Classic. I could have gone Moxley's whole year, really, but I just wanted to narrow it down to the Continental Classic because the way he used in-ring storytelling, backed up by backstage promos, not in-ring promos, throughout, was amazing. The submission stuff, tapping out and then finding this like new inner strength to not tap out, that fighting spirit stuff. Unbelievable in-ring storytelling. I went with that at number 3. Number 2, I went with the Saya Kamitani Tam Nakano career versus career story, where, you know, Nakano had kind of spotted Saya Kamitani in previous years as a great young up-and-comer and acted as a mentor to her, and then Saya Kamitani faced Tam Nakano loser leaves town match that eventually led to a career versus career match. And that closing stretch lasts 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes of that career versus career match where Nakano loses is some of the best, most emotional wrestling I've seen all year. Number 1, best feud story this year. I don't think this is any surprise. It is Hangman's redemption. And not just the redemption for Hangman, But that moment where he unlocks the AEW World title out of the briefcase that Mox had been holding it hostage in, just so many things came together. Like, you had two storylines that had reached really strong places. The stuff with Swerve with the chain, the stuff with Ospreay, between Hangman and Ospreay, the stuff with Hangman and Swerve, and at the same time the Hangman and Moxley stuff, the callbacks to their previous Texas Death match, Darby Allin coming down from the rafters, Swerve helping him, Ospreay. Like, this was just incredible stuff, and it all culminated perfectly at their biggest show of the year in a baseball stadium, with Hangman finally, after like years, after going through all that CM Punk stuff, he finally had his redemption. I went top 10 matches, had it tied for number 10. Sorry. Brian Dunn says, my one problem with this story is I miss Hangman's heel team. That's fair. The heel team, I thought the heel team was awesome, but I do really love his babyface team as well. Jorbanahan says, Division not in the top 5. What a shocker, with Rollins' fake injury and all. Division just really never got off the ground, did it? Ruse of the century, Morrow, says Brian Dunn. Oh, I was rused. They rused me so much. Fucking hell, the Vision stuff was terrible. It feels as well that Paul Heyman's just like a shadow of his former self. So yeah, then top 10 matches of the year. This is the final category, I suppose. Tied for 10. Do I not like WWE? WWE have had an absolute dog shit year, Shane. Why would we, I thought about, maybe I should spread out the stuff more. But no, they were shit. Why would I give them credit when they were dog shit all year? But there is a WWE match in here. What other WWE matches would deserve to be better than any of these? I don't think there's an argument to be made. Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair from WrestleMania Night 2 is tied at number 10. To me, the best match in WWE this year. I also liked other matches. John Cena versus AJ Styles. I liked John Cena versus Cody. Certainly not the WrestleMania one, but the SummerSlam one was much better, but still it was only okay. Then I really liked the Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley match. I've said this loads of times. Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley from Evolution was really good. However, the Naomi cash-in at the end just kind of ruined that for me. So I really hoping that they'd give Io Sky and Rhea Ripley a proper one-on-one match at an event this year, where they give them 15 minutes to be able to go out and put on an actual banger, because I think they really have one in them. Jerry Bannon says, I think you're referring to WWE here. Jerry said, it was so bad, and the worst thing, it will be around for months to come. Yes, yeah, I don't see it like any improvements coming really at the minute. And then Brian Dunn says, what do you even like about WWE at the minute? I love Io Sky, I love Rhea Ripley. I said at the start of last year I wanted 2025 to be Bianca Belair's year. And Oisin McCarthy says, it's not a joke when you struggle to pick out positives this year for WWE. It's just one of them things. It's coincidental that the first year I'm doing the Morries, because the first year I've been doing my solo live stream, is the year that WWE has its worst every year. Shane, we reviewed that Cody and Kevin Owens match from the Royal Rumble this year, and I wasn't very positive about it at the time. I thought it was good. I just don't think it's anywhere near any of the matches on this list. If you remember our review of that, I didn't love that match. I liked the match. I didn't love the match. Gable and Vikingo at Worlds Collide was really good. I certainly wouldn't have a top 10 wrestling matches of the year. Or top 11, as my top 10 is actually a top 11. I did like Gable and Vikingo though. But yeah, I didn't. If people are trying to use that as a top 10, I just have to disagree. Thought it was really good. Didn't love it. And also tied for top 10. Tied for top 10. And I thought this was the front runner for so long for me, actually. Was Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega from Wrestle Dynasty. This match was so good, it made Hiroshi Tanahashi cry. Tears of joy. Hiroshi Tanahashi cried tears of joy at the ending to this match. It was Omega's return to the Tokyo Dome, taking on the young representative of New Japan and Gabe Kidd. Kenny Omega was so good in this match that he got the fans who had waited years to see him back in the Tokyo Dome turn on him within minutes. I was like, this guy's a genius. At number 9, I added, this is why I have a top 10, because I had this top 10 made, or top 11. I had this top 10 made, and then the Kyle Fletcher versus Moxley match happened at World's End. I love this match so much for the organic way in which American wrestling crowds in recent years have this ironic wink wink nudge nudge relationship that we're all in on the act with wrestling, and every now and again that gets dispensed with. Brian Donut says, wow, I'd have Kidd and Omega much higher than that. I think that's fair as well. It made Hiroshi Tanahashi cry. It was such a great match. And maybe it's kind of suffered here in my rankings simply because it is the oldest match on this list. It happened 5 days into 2025. So maybe I've kind of been a little bit unfair on it in that sense. But yeah, at the time it happened, I was ranting and raving about how great it was. But something about the Kyle Fletcher John Moxley match for me made the audience forget that modern audiences have this ironic relationship with wrestling. Modern North American audiences have this ironic wink wink nudge nudge relationship with wrestling, and it got this total organic reaction from what for the rest of the night was kind of a dead crowd, let's be honest, but they reacted to Fletcher being as the heel and Moxley as the babyface in a way that felt like you were watching a sports event taking place, where people really wanted somebody to win and really wanted somebody to lose, and not be there to chant this is awesome, or not be there to chant fight forever or any of that. They were there or chant the name of the promotion, AEW or NXT or OTT. They were there to chant for John Moxley when the match was taking place, and I just, something about that in 2025 really made me feel so good. And that's a team that I will come back to a lot during this list. Number 8, I went with Bandito versus Takeshita from Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor earlier in the year. This match was just insane. It was like, I can't believe what I'm watching here. And it was really the moment for me where because I thought Bandito did really well in the Jericho feud, but I thought Bandito was kind of capped at like a pretty decent upper mid-carder. But when he started doing the main event, the Ring of Honor shows, and getting like the time and energy dedicated to his spot on the card, and this match with Takeshita, and then the fact that they had him go over to Takeshita, I was like, yeah, this guy has like main event level something about him. And that was the match that really made me open my eyes. That was the match that opened my eyes to how good Bandito can really be, or how far he can be pushed. Number 7, I went with the second Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano match from Stardom's All-Star Grand Queendom. This is the career versus career match, Tam Nakano's retirement match. I spoke about it a bit earlier, but the final stretch of this and the emotion from the audience, and that just the storytelling down the stretch of this match was utterly incredible and extremely emotive. And again, it was this organic reaction from a crowd not wanting to see Tam Nakano's career come to an end. And the moment of the final pinfall, and Saya Kamitani wins, and there's like, you can feel tears happening around the arena. And from the moment, the introductions, the this match is just like truly special, and they have it uploaded in full for free on the Stardom YouTube page. I'd implore anyone to go out of their way and watch this. It's very different from American style wrestling. It may be an acquired taste for people, but there was something again about, and I go back to that Fletcher Moxley match and the Gabe Kidd Kenny Omega match, this organic crowd reaction of wanting something to happen so badly, and the real stakes involved. It was just totally down to the crowd. I love this so much. The next match, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Goto 2, when Zack won the title back at Tanahashi Jam over the summer. I could have had this higher, and I might have liked this match even more. And like every match on this list I absolutely love, plus 10 or 12 other matches that didn't make the list. I've absolutely loved. But this, I knew the result of this match before I saw the match. I saw the match maybe 4 or 5 days. It wasn't uploaded to New Japan World for like ages afterwards. So I knew the result of this match when I finally got to see the match. And I still love the match. And I was still totally invested in the match. And the finish with Zack just going after Goto's head like that, I was like, incredible match. Again, another one where the crowd were so feverishly behind Hiroki Goto. And again, another one where there was this sense of deflation with Zack Sabre Jr. winning at the end, but it was this organic crowd. Goto's story this year really is probably one of the stories of the year. When he's been injured and off filming that film with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and all, the Street Fighter one. So he's been gone for the latter half of the year. So we probably forget how great Goto's year was up to that point. But yeah, like for a guy at his age doing it at this level, Zack Sabre Jr. just brought out the absolute best in him twice. The second match with Zack regaining the title was unbelievable. This is a match that the result was spoiled for me, and I was still biting on near falls. So that was my number 6 match of the year. Number 5, I went to Bandito versus Hechicero at Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor. When one of the, I can't remember who said it earlier, but no Hechicero in the top 10 in ring. Like, this is one of them matches where you go like, yeah, actually maybe Hechicero should have been in. This match is like 37 minutes of a total lucha style match, which blends all the various elements of lucha wrestling. They didn't really get into the heavy brawling style that you'd see from like LA Park or someone, but they had the mat wrestling, they had the high flying, it had pageantry, it had heart, it had everything. It was just an incredible 37 minutes of wrestling. Again, and that's for free on the Ring of Honor YouTube channel. I'd implore anyone to watch that match. I think most people here have seen my number 4, Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley, the main event of All In. I kind of described it earlier. This was AEW's version of the WrestleMania 40 Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns main event, with like that kind of Marvel Avengers style booking. And they just did it in their way of it being an uber violent bloodbath with people getting stabbed in the head with forks and getting thrown onto beds of nails and getting choked out over the ropes in a chain. You know, it was their version of that type of multiple stories colliding in a conclusive finale type match. That we saw from Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes a few years ago. And I'm not saying it was better than the Roman Reigns Cody Rhodes match. It was their version of it in that it was more violent and so on, and it was their version of that type of spectacle. That Cody Roman match from a few years ago was so great as well. The only thing that kind of hurt that match for me was that it was The Undertaker and not Stone Cold that did that run in at that exact time. Stone Cold would have been the perfect person for that, but I suppose he didn't want to do it and they got The Undertaker, and that was fine too. Like, that Cody Roman match was like so dramatic and emotional as well, and it was brilliant, you know. So yeah, but that was their version of it. Shane says Bailey, Ricochet and Omega was a banger also. Yeah, that was another one of those matches that was like, there was a couple of triple threat matches this year I didn't want to put in too many triple threat matches. Because I thought Takeshita Okada and Mascara Dorada, Io, Rhea, and Bianca, and Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega, all three of those were some of the best triple threat matches I've ever seen. And I had to I only wanted one triple threat match in my top 10, and I went with the Io, Rhea, and Bianca one, slightly over the Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega one. I thought the Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega one was probably a little bit more inventive than the Io, Rhea, and Bianca one. But the Io, Rhea, and Bianca match came after a night one of WrestleMania where people were kind of like, that wasn't great. Like, well, here we go on to night 2, and people were kind of feeling a little bit down. The main event of night 1 was good, but it wasn't, like, it was really good. But the rest of the show kind of felt like, was that a WrestleMania? And then the opener of night 2 was this Io, Rhea, and Bianca match, and you're like, fuck yeah, now this is WrestleMania. So kind of the reason I went for the women's triple threat over the Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega one looks like the spot it came in and the feeling it created. Now look, the rest of the card didn't live up to that, but that's nothing got to do with them. They created the circumstances by which night 2 of WrestleMania 41 could have been great, because they opened with an unbelievable match. And I thought, just like, they were in that spot and they fucking nailed it after people were a little bit down after night 1 of WrestleMania. They came in open night 2 with an absolute banger. And that's why I went for them over that Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega match, because I love that Bayley. Like, there's a whole section of that match. It's a little bit long, but there's a whole section of that Bayley, Ricochet, and Omega match where they're doing all these multiple pins, and it's like, what is happening here? Like, there's so much inventive stuff in it. Brian Dunn says Speedball was such a good signing for AEW. Speedball, Kevin Knight, Josh Alexander, unbelievable signings all this year. They all happened this year. And this new policy Tony seems to have of not really taking ex-WWE people and focusing more on high-end indie talent that aren't overexposed on TV has been such a refreshing idea for their roster. The whole mid-card of their roster felt so much fresher this year than in previous years because of signings like Speedball, Kevin Knight, Josh Alexander. There's probably more that I'm not thinking of. People like Megan Bain and stuff as well, like things like that, like not ex-WWE talent that have had a lot of exposure on TV. My number 3 match of the year, and this could have been number 1 or 2 because this match was so great, was the Tony Storm Mariah May Hollywood ending match. So many moments of this match are just seared into my memory. The ending, like that it has a picture perfect ending, and the credits afterwards, it came on the back of an amazing storyline. That moment where the previous year Mariah May won the OWN and then instantly attacked Tony Storm and battered her bloody with the shoe, and then beat her in Wembley. Such a fantastic story. Such a fantastic story. Brian Dunn says Hollywood ending was absolutely perfect. And do you know what the thing there, Brian, is that it was a tidy 14-minute match, 15 minutes. I'll actually just check I want to check how long this match was, because I have it in my head that a lot of wrestling companies could take a lesson from this match, in the sense that more doesn't always equal more. That what they did in 15 minutes, 12 minutes 55 seconds, right? 12 minutes 55 seconds. For context, on that same show, Hangman and MJF was over 19 minutes. Mercedes versus Momo Watanabe, an outsider coming in, was 18 minutes 30 seconds. Swerve versus Ricochet was 18 minutes 10 seconds. Kenny Omega Takeshita was 28 minutes 30 seconds. Ospreay and Fletcher in the steel cage match was 29 minutes. And John Moxley versus Adam Copeland was 26 minutes, 35 seconds. The best match on that card was the one that was 12 minutes, 55 seconds. There is a lesson in there for AEW that sometimes more isn't always more. They told a perfect story in sub 13 minutes, and people are still talking about it almost a year later. So the Hollywood ending feels like it was so long ago. David Ayre says it really does. It's a different lifetime ago for Mariah May. Brian Dunn says, I thought that too, could have sworn it was 2024. Aaron says, such a shame it didn't go on last. Yeah, it should have been evented. Swerve Ricochet was a great feud that I forgot about too. Actually, that was so much fun as well. That Revolution card is bonkers, because that Kenny Omega Takeshita match was insane. The Ospreay Fletcher Steel Cage match was great. Obviously the Hollywood ending was great. There was a Hurt Syndicate versus Outrunners match in there. There was an Okada versus Brody King match. I don't think that was great. The Swerve Ricochet match was great. Hangman versus MJF was great. Yeah, there was so much great stuff on that pay-per-view. But yeah, to me, not quite as great as Double or Nothing. But yeah, the Hollywood ending match was literally just wrestling perfection done in under 13 minutes with so many memorable moments. It really does. So you don't need 25 to 30 minutes to have an all-timer match. Because I do think this is probably like an all-timer match. I think even over the Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay match, I would think in 5 years' time, right? Let's say we're coming to the end talking about the top 100 matches of the 2020s in 5 years' time. I would place a bet now that the Toni Storm versus Mariah May match will be higher up the rankings in 5 years than the Hangman Page versus Will Ospreay match. I think it will end up being more memorable. I think just this year for me, the Hangman Page Will Ospreay match was just unbelievable and it's still fresh. But I have a feeling that Toni Storm and Mariah May is one of them matches that will kind of continue to grow in its legendary status as the year goes on, more so than probably any other match this year. If that makes sense, you know, there's certain matches that are great and are perceived as great for a while, but there's other matches that are great and are perceived as great for much longer. And then like you go back and watch those two matches, you're like, oh, I remember the Hollywood ending more than the Hangman Page Ospreay match, but now that I watched the two of them back to back, I actually think the Hangman Page Ospreay match is better. That happens a lot in wrestling, but I do think the Hollywood ending will be the one in 5 years' time if people are making their top 100 matches of the 2020s. I have a feeling Toni Storm and Mariah May is going to be one that would do very well on that type of list, whereas I don't think the one I have at number 2 ahead of that, Hangman versus Will Ospreay, will poll as well on a decade type list. Brian Dunn says the final image of Tony laying over Mariah's corpse is legendary, so legendary. And like, you know, that moment, there's such a great moment in that match where Mariah May's like acting is just perfection when she sees Tony put the glass, stick the glass onto her wrapped hands, and the camera kind of shows a shot of Mariah May's reaction, and Mariah May is just like, oh shit, looks like we're doing this. I just love that match so much. Hangman Page with Ospreay, as these two guys hit each other so fucking hard in this match, but also did the amazing Will Ospreay chain of sequences. This match was like 36 minutes and it was insanely high paced, insanely hard hitting, but also their selling was incredible. This is the match where they both used all the moves of their biggest rivals to try, like, they really had to go to new depths to try and beat each other. So yeah, I cannot wait for these two to do it again, because now they have this match to call back to as well. And I very nearly picked this match as number 1. But I have a feeling these two are going to top it again. I think they'll top this match. And this is really very close to being the best match of the year, in my opinion. And the wrestling in this match is actually better than the wrestling in the match that I picked at number one by a considerable margin. By a considerable margin. But yeah, such a great match. I went back and watched it this week to make sure that I watched it Christmas Day, actually, as a little treat to myself, to make sure that it was as good as I thought it was, and was it better than the Tony Mariah match and so on. And I was like, yeah, it is. I watched the Tony Mariah match as well this week. And I watched the Bandito Takeshita match. The Bandito Takeshita match, I actually moved down about 3 spots. I actually originally had the Bandito Takeshita match ahead of the Bandito Hechicero match. But on rewatch, I realized I preferred the Hechicero match, and I preferred the Zack match, and I preferred the Saya Kamatani match. Brian Dunn says Ospreay was so dialed in this year, such a shame his next is an absolute mincemeat. Yeah, he was so dialed in. Like, we didn't even mention him. Well, we kind of mentioned it. I mentioned him and Chad Gable kind of not being eligible for my best in-ring because of how much time they missed. But Ospreay was on an outrageous run this year before he got injured. Even after he got injured, he did that cage match in the O2 in London while waiting for his neck surgery. Psychopath. But like, Ospreay had so many great matches this year. He was super dialed in. He was the best in-ring wrestler in the world until he got injured, to be perfectly honest. But he'd be coming back into a really interesting landscape. Aaron Reynolds says when AEW finally crown Ospreay, it's going to be an all-timer moment. Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. I think it should be. I wonder sometimes, did they actually miss the peak of Ospreay? Because when he came in and we all realised that, holy shit, this guy can cut an unbelievable babyface promo, and they were readying the title for Swerve, it was like, maybe you just pivot to Ospreay because he kind of feels like the guy now. Can they get that feeling back again? Probably. He's so good they probably can. But sometimes you kind of worry about that stuff. You know, had they just have gone all in on Ospreay around that time he debuted and started cutting them unbelievable babyface promos and having sick matches with Takeshita and all these guys, was it a case of like he had the Fletcher match, he had the Hangman match, he had the tag match at All In. He was on track for like an unbelievable year. I'm going to give people like a minute to guess what they think my number one wrestling match of the year is. This is the last thing on today's show. So I'm going to wait maybe 30-40 seconds before I reveal it and just read the chat while that's happening. Aaron Reynolds says the WWE Mr. Moment with Drew in Cardiff. Yeah, like Drew was never quite able to get back to that level again. He nearly got there a couple of times. And I don't think that'll happen with Ospreay, but it is the type of thing that like, oh, he was super hot that time, maybe you should have just done it. How much would that have hurted Swerve? Probably a lot. So there's a lot of things to consider in that sense. David Ayres says, surely the number one pick for the Morries, All Elite Morro's match of the year is Joe Hendry versus Randy Orton. Ribshot says Gunter versus Cena. Nope, neither of those. I did love the Gunter versus Cena match. Gunter versus Cena is probably in my top 3 WWE matches. Definitely top 5 WWE matches this year. I thought that match was fucking awesome. Yeah, I thought the Gunter Cena match was I thought the Gunter Cena match was actually Cena's best singles match this year. Even better than the AJ Styles match. And even better than the Cody match at SummerSlam. Yoshin Max says Cena versus Cody at WrestleMania, or was there too much Fiend? Aaron Reynolds says Butterbean versus Suzuki. Oh my god. That Butterbean versus Suzuki match. Now, I haven't seen the full match. I think it's 9 minutes long. I've seen various clips on Twitter and stuff. By all accounts, that is a genuine contender for worst match of all time. And from the clips I've seen, people might be telling the truth. Now, I've only seen maybe a minute worth of clips, but that Butterbean versus Suzuki match looked bloody awful. Cody versus Cena at Mania Ush as well was absolutely awful. There was too much Fiend. There was too much Travis Scott. There was too much John Cena trying to be anti-wrestling. Just have a good match. We know you had it in you because you had 3 or 4 bangers by the end of the year. So is it time to reveal All Elite Morro's number 1 wrestling match of the year? And it is MJF versus Mystico from the CMLL 92nd. Brian Dunn got it just in time. MJF versus Mystico from the CMLL anniversary show. 92nd anniversary show. Oshi Max says, I'm fairly sure that Butterbean Suzuki match is actually Meltzer's lowest rated match of all time. Wow. Because he has some minus 5-star matches. Didn't he one time give him minus 1 million? 1 million stars? Or something to Queen Charmel versus someone in TNA? Or was that... Maybe that was Brian Alvarez gave that minus 1 million stars. Aaron, no, not Mox versus Kyle. I did like Mox versus Kyle. But Brian Dunn got it. MJF versus Mystico. And this is good to go back to the theme of this. There was certain matches on here. Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega. Fletcher versus Mox. Sai Kamatani versus Tam Nakano. Those matches in particular, and all the Hangman ones, were ones where the crowd got behind the babyface in such a genuine, non-ironic manner. And this, to me, was the peak of that. The emotion inside Arena Mexico for this match was like so palpable. And this was such a simple wrestling match. MJF played the foreign heel invader thing, that wrestling trope for 50 fucking 60 70 80 years, whatever, to absolute perfection. He looked like he was having the time of his life doing this in Mexico in his little American shorts. And you know, the trope was reversed here, because we're so used to seeing it in WWE with the foreign heel being like Eastern European or whatever, but here the American was the foreign heel. MJF is just the perfect guy to do that. The crowd had tears in their eyes as Mystico was walking to the ring. His entrance was insane. And MJF just cuts him off instantly, starts tearing at the mask. And like, the tearing at the mask was to open the mask to allow the blood out. Mystico is absolutely crimson mask, pumping blood from like the first minute of the match. He's beaten 10 counts to get into the ring at the last second constantly. And just, there was a level of emotion and crowd involvement in this match that I just didn't see anywhere else this year. And that's why I picked it as not necessarily the best match as such, but definitely my favourite match of the year. And it's something that I really want to see wrestling get back to. We've had years of PWG style, insane great matches with unbelievable wrestling, but a little bit too wink wink nudge nudge, we're all in on it together, kind of an attitude from the wrestlers and the crowd. We're starting to get like you see it more with non-American fan bases, right? With Arena Mexico and their love and support. They treat Mystico as if he's a genuine sports guy that they're behind, and they're cheering for him with all their heart. We see it a little bit more in Japan. And I think we're starting to get some of that back into American wrestling with heels like Kyle Fletcher. MJF can do it if he slightly shapes the way or changes the style of what he's doing slightly. Sometimes he does it, sometimes he reverts back into the wink wink nudge nudge. John Moxley certainly did it during the Continental Classic. There are certain people who are bringing that thing back of, if we treat this with kind of genuine reverence, then and yeah, Brian Dunn says it there. That kind of pure, genuine crowd reaction is really so rare these days. It is, and it really shaped how I picked the matches that I loved this year. Brian Dunn says as well, crowds are definitely too smart now. It absolutely ruins the whole thing for me. I agree with that. And it certainly shaped the way I picked this list, and why I picked this as number 1 is that the crowd were just totally all in on this. Aaron Reynolds says Mystico's late career resurgence has been so great to see. I was worried WWE run had killed any chance, kill the chance of getting to that level again. Yeah, I felt it did kill his chance I honestly, like, this is one of the most surprising stories going. That Mystico has had this late career resurgence and just become, yeah, he's not as good in the ring as he used to be, but he can still do things like this where he doesn't have to be unbelievable in the ring to get the crowd totally on board behind him and like literally crying when he wins and crying when he enters. Yeah, we need more of this genuine reaction in wrestling. So that was my match of the year. And that brings us to the first annual Morries Awards. Recap: Best Overall Wrestler was Mystico. Best In-Ring was Bandito. Best Under 30 was Kyle Fletcher. Best Tag Team was FTR. Best Irish Tag Team was BDE. Best Irish Young Wrestler was Matthew Bullet Smith. Best Irish Best Wrestler was Raven Creed. Best TV Episode was Blood and Guts. Best Pay-Per-View was Double or Nothing. Best Story was Hangman's Redemption. And Best Match was MJF versus Mystico. The first annual Morries. The Morries. What a terrible name. Thanks, Shane. Jer Banahan says, crowds are wanting to be in the show instead of taking it in as a killer for me. Yeah, totally. That's just like wanting to be part of the show, and instead of just letting go and allowing yourself to genuinely support a babyface and boo a heel. I really hope that in 2026 we see a further push towards that trend. I think there's really positive signs in 2025 that there was a lot of stuff moving in that direction, and that would be the biggest thing for me in 2026 would be if we get a further push in that direction of crowds wanting to be taken on a journey instead of define the journey. Instead of them like wanting to define what the journey is, allow yourselves to be taken on a journey. And it's not sit back and consume, it's get involved in an earnest manner. That's what I would love to see. But like, that's up to the wrestlers being able to do that. Having people like Mystico, Saya Kamatani, Bandito when he's in Mexico, Kyle Fletcher as a heel, you need the wrestlers committing to that in order for it to happen. So it's not totally the crowd's fault, it's people playing up to what the crowd is. I'm not sure if you said it earlier, but any quick shout for Irish Match of the Year? Yeah, so the best match, there's a few matches that live for me, the draw of the match with Callum Black and Jay was unbelievable. And then 1 second there now. I'm going to get the full lineup of this match. God, I can't type because I keep forgetting the actual all 6 wrestlers. Oh whoa, no, it's not. Not giving 1 second there now. This is fantastic entertainment watching me try to type on this keyboard that's turned sideways. So yeah, I would go with the best live matches I saw was, in no particular order, the Callum Black versus Jay match in Drogheda, the Raven Creed versus Myla Grace match at the anniversary show, the Hype Dogs versus Renzo and Bullet Smith at the anniversary show was great as well. I thought a sneaky late addition to the year was Keane Noonan versus Trent Seven up in Belfast a few days ago. And then, yeah, here's this one now. I didn't get to go to this match. It was the CCW TakeOver show. I watched this on demand afterwards. The Hype Dogs versus Keane Noonan and Martin Steers versus Jay and Raven Creed triple threat ladder match. I thought that was great. So yeah, probably one of those I think would be my favourite Irish match of the year. Oh, Hype Dogs versus Sammy D and Trent. That was this year, actually. That was this year. I keep forgetting that was this year. They beat Sammy D and Trent for the titles after Sammy D and Trent beat Social Elite, wasn't it? It was the Hype Dogs versus Raven, Jay, Steers and Noonan match was incredible as well. So, I think the tag match at the stadium takes it for me. Is that the Bullet and Renzo versus Hype Dogs? Because that was great as well. Hype Dogs were just casually involved in 3 of the best matches this year. And I forgot Hype Dogs and Sammy was this year. Wait for Jay and Ricky Sosa on VOD. Is that'll be coming this week, Shane? I assume that'll be coming this week. It was only yesterday where I got my sister actually got me a Christmas present of the OTT on demand again, so I was able to not have to pay for it myself this time, or not have to rob it off Edward Stewart Tate. Aaron Renner says the bullet turn was actual perfection. They totally threw me off the scent on that with having them win the match. I was like, because I was expecting the bullet turn, and then when they won, I was like, oh my god, they're not doing it tonight. They're continuing the storyline. I'm all good with that because I loved them as a tag team. And then he did the turn, fucking perfection. That was so good. So good. So Shane is recommending that we wait for Jay and Ricky Sosa on VOD coming later this week, I'm assuming. Well, this has been the Morries. I've been All Elite Morro. You, the chat, have been fucking fantastic. Jer, Brian, Aaron, Oisin, all the usuals. Shane, Ribshot was in the house. David Ayers was in the house. Great. The chat was hopping there today. We've really good concurrent viewers throughout, actually. Really good viewership numbers today. And Colin Nelligan was in the house. Mark Dowd was in. I think Cottle was in earlier as well. So we had great numbers today. We'll be getting back to a regular schedule in the new year. I'm currently in the process of moving my business, so I'm actually exceptionally busy with that. So yeah, I'm hoping to be able to get back to a regular schedule next Monday, but I'm having issues with my new office and carpets coming and painting and blah 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 blah. So it might be in 2 weeks' time we get back to our regular schedule, but I'll keep that updated on the socials. Loads of content has come out over the last number of days, and more still to come. The Benoit doc went up from Louis. That was just incredible. Hard watching, but incredible. The JBL doc is up. That is incredible as well. There's a new pod tomorrow. What's the new pod tomorrow, Shane? Is there a new pod? What's the new pod? Oh, new pod is recording tomorrow. That is, yes, we're doing that tomorrow afternoon/evening. Yeah, I thought you had one recorded. I was like, what, do we? So new pod being recorded tomorrow. The JBL doc's there. The Benoit doc is there. There's a new Total Extreme Morrow coming on Friday, I think, as well. Turn the ship around there. Things are looking up. Things are looking up for the Total Extreme Morrow in the fan wrestling show. Thanks, everybody. Have a lovely new year, and I'll see y'all very soon.